Hi, everybody. I'd like to welcome you all to our podcast panel discussion on LoRaWAN in industrial and hazardous areas. I'm your moderator. My name is Alix Paultre. I am the editor-at-large for Microwaves and RF and Electronic Design, two brands that address the electronic design engineering community. And you can find the websites at microwavesandrf.com and electronicdesign.com. And I've got our two guests here, John Tillema from TWTG, and Dan, I got to get your last name, Moest, right?
Yeah, right,
okay,
right.
I was worried I'd messed that one up.
Yeah,
Dan.
perfect.
But John, why don't you tell me a little bit about yourself and the company?
Sure, I'm John Tillema. We're from TWTG, as you say, based in Rotterdam in the Netherlands. Founded almost 12 years ago. And as an engineering firm, we basically focus on LoRaWAN devices only, so we're at the right place. And then for heavy industry. So we are distinguishing ourselves and making sensors that are ATEX certified, so AX safe, global certified for even up to zone 0 applications. And making a whole product range to digitalize basically this heavy industry, oil and gas, new energy type of factories.
Very cool. And Dan, how about you?
Yeah, my name is Daniel. Thanks for the invitation. I'm working for the German sensor manufacturer Pepperl+Fuchs. Our company was founded in 1945, so we have almost 80 years of experience on the market. And we are producing a wide range of sensors, almost wired sensors. Most of them are wired, right? Like if Mercedes-Benz, for example, as a car manufacturer wants to build a new production line, they buy our sensors, integrate the sensors there. And since 2014, we made first steps with battery-operated sensors, wireless sensors. Back then, we received the request from the city of Barcelona, and they were looking for sensors, for ultrasonic sensors, measuring feeling level of glass containers. To optimize the routes of the garbage trucks. And so back then, that were the first steps we made with battery-operated wireless sensors.
Very interesting now. Now, John, Pepperl's been around for quite a while, and your company's been around for over a decade. What made you decide to leap over into the LoRaWAN community, into the ecosystem?
It was leap over. I think when we started the company, LoRaWAN didn't even exist yet. So we always tried to be first with new technology. So we did Bluetooth Low Energy when it first came out, when Steve Jobs was there with his iPhone. And I think the same went with narrowband IoT, LTM. So when LoRa came to be, it was for us really natural to first see what was the hype about. I think the very first message, even in the Netherlands, that was sent over the coverage we did together with them. It was even before the WAN protocol was still was there. And together then with Wienke, with the Things Industries, we really started playing around. It started with a Kickstarter, but it was all still fun and games. And at a certain point, you see an industry, you see the technology is really nice from an engineering perspective. But what's the best application for it? There is no one technology that will take over. Even your mobile phone has Bluetooth for short range, Wi-Fi, LTM. So all the different technologies should sit overlapping. I think when we looked at LoRaWAN, where is this niche? And for us, it was really clear when we said it has to be a really high concentration number of devices in a place that's not that big, but also where you can control, because one of the upsides of LoRa, you can set it up yourself. So which industries or which markets do like to have control, high potential of digitalization? And for us, it made a lot of sense to go into industry. Back then, we maybe underestimating a little bit how hard it was to certify for those environments. But yeah, like you said, we were young, so we just jumped into it. But it was really clear that to focus on the industry and build it ourselves, I think it's completely changed our company. We don't do any other technology anymore. We focus only on LoRaWAN and only on this industry. But we do it globally now, and I think everything that we've seen happening, there were other companies that are older than us seen the same thing happening, and I think together now we just ride that new LoRaWAN wave in the industry. Yeah.
Very, very cool. Now, Dan, as John just pointed out, and I recognized earlier, Pepperl+Fuchs, as you mentioned, has a very deep legacy in industrial controls.
That's true.
How did you transition into LoRaWAN?
Yeah, so as said, it's still a journey that goes on. So we started 2014 with first prototypes back then. It wasn't LoRaWAN, it was GSM we started with. So really to make some first steps. But it was really successful back then. So the sensors, the prototypes still working today. And so we thought in 2018, hey, we need something else. So we get first requests from industry, for example, hey, do you have battery-operated sensors we can use, wireless sensors? And so we started to develop our first one. That's the Wilson Sonic sensor. So it's an ultrasonic sensor for different ranges, from 2.5 meter up to 7 meter. So we really started with smart cities. So we started with Barcelona, and so we thought, hey, there are so many other cities around the world. They want to be smarter in the future. They have challenges they need to face off, they need to prove for flooding, for example, right? So they need to know what the water level is of rivers, of lakes, and so you could use ultrasonic sensors for that. And so we really started together with our sales crew to talk with the cities. Yeah, and so for us, those customers are completely new customers, completely new target groups. And since 2020, around about that, first industrial customers got also interested in our ultrasonic and our Wilson sensors. So one of our first industrial customer, the big one, is Mercedes-Benz. So they were looking for containers in their production facilities, and they want to know where they are. So we have GPS included in our sensors, and they want to know what the filling level of the containers is, right? So that they know when they need to get there, when they need to empty those containers. For them it's easier because they have a higher level of transparency in the future. They know when quality issues arise, for example, and we are able to solve those problems with our sensors. And so that was really the first customer from the industrial world we are working with. Yeah.
Very interesting. Now, one of the things that I wanted to point out, and for the audience especially, because obviously this is the industrial LoRaWAN, I wanted to point out that in one sense, industrial is almost low-hanging fruit because there's so much energy being used. There's so much material in question. If you can save your house refrigerator, 10%, sure, that's nice. But if I have a gas exchange facility and I can save 1%, that's millions of dollars. Yes. So give us an idea of some of the advantages that you are pushing and that you're seeing that your customers are asking for in these LoRaWAN-based wireless industrial systems. Let you go first, John.
On one hand, you're right. The sheer amount of money, energy being used in this industry, it's enormous, so 1% saving makes sense, right? But on the other hand, it's also a heavy industry. So, they have also a lot to lose. There might be a lot to gain. So jumping into a new technology or taking some small risk, it's not worth the risk. If a factory, like one of our clients is Shell, and they have a big refinery in Pernis, the biggest from Europe, if that factory stands still for a minute, the savings could all be done for nothing. So taking risk in the industry, it's really not what they really like to do. So what we've seen, I think especially, we went industry only. So convincing the industry in a new technology, I sometimes compare it to a mousetrap. So mousetraps are the most patented, most patented product in the world. In the US patent system, there are more patents about mousetrap than anywhere else. But yet, when I say mousetrap, you think of the original one, it's a wooden block with a spring. And what you see is when you want to change an existing product or an existing way of doing, you don't need to be 2 times better or 4 times better. You need to be at least 10 times better. Otherwise, people won't change. You won't change for a new energy supplier because you have 1% saving. You won't change your way of driving an electric car if you come from petrol if it only saves you a little bit. It needs to change a lot. And I think what we've been seeing in industry, it's the same. If they had a way of doing stuff, they have safety procedures, efficiency procedures, everything, the factory runs, like that run 10 years ago, and the most critical parts were already automated and digitalized 10 years ago. There's nothing new there. It's just, if you want to change now, we are changing is manual behavior, people doing manual rounds, checkups by engineers themselves. So in order to digitalize that, you need to start trusting your sensors. It's like literally trusting a sensor to say your factory is right and not send somebody to actually check if it's not on fire. So in order to gain that trust, there's a lot of procedures, checks, time frame, and you need to be always on your toes. You cannot, if you mess up once, it's done. So we have to be on our toes, have to prove constantly that it works and that the efficiency is there. What we see now is that our products, like Shell, for example, we do vibration monitoring there. So Shelburne at the moment is now the best vibration monitored site, industrial site worldwide. Not only LoRa, not only wireless, de facto. So even wired competitors, we have over 9,000 sensors of those running around in that factory. And what you see is, just by having that, the return on investment was in year 1. And our devices have a battery life of 8 years. So you see that even on year 1 business case, it took them 2 years to decide to implement them. And I think that's just an image of how we do that worldwide with this type of industries. It takes a lot of convincing, but once they are convinced, then it's also industry, then the savings are tremendous, and then it rolls out. Yeah.
Well, I had only used the 1% as just an example of just a little, because you're right, once it's established and optimized and
then
set up,
there is new
significant savings.
What you see now, and that's with digitalization.
Leveraging savings.
The first business case that you have is replacing the human for us walking around or do a periodic check. But as soon as you already have a device there, it doesn't limit itself to measure once every week or every month or every year. It will measure constantly. And suddenly you get insights that you never valued before. You get efficiency, you get safety. So there's so many other changes that are basically built on top of that data stream. And other industries have already done this. I mean, I think heavy industry is just walking a little bit behind the curve. But yeah, leveraging data in a data lake, maybe even with AI over and top. I don't care what you're going to do with the data, but having data by itself, quality labeled data, safe and secure, it's already tremendous amount of value, no matter what you do with it. Yeah.
I agree. Yeah. I know you have a follow-up.
Yeah, I totally agree with John. Pepperl+Fuchs is based in the heart of Germany, in Mannheim. And 3 kilometers away from our headquarters is BASF, so the large chemical company. And actually BASF was one of our first customers when we were founded. And so I think that's a great example, because there we have a lot of potential, but it was really tough and tricky to first of all get there, find the right contact persons there, large thousands of people, and you need to address the LoRaWAN topic, right? And you need to make LoRaWAN more aware, get more awareness for the technology. But also make clear what the benefits are, and then the journey just starts. And so we had a lot of first contacts there, a lot of first discussions, and then there was one application that's quite interesting. So they have the plant of BASF in Ludwigshafen. They have 10 square kilometers of size, so it's huge, and of course they have thousands of valves there. Like valves where you multi-turn valves or hand lever valves. And the most important ones, of course, are already monitored by sensors. For example, from Pepperl+Fuchs, but those are wired sensors. And with this size and this number of valves, you cannot monitor every valve with a wired sensor. That's not doable. And so, as John said, they normally walking around and checking the valves. That are not monitored manually by employees, and so that's something we're working on for a longer time now. And on Tuesday we finally launched the sensors now, the Wilson valve sensors. We're really proud about that, and so that sensor can be mounted on the top of the valve now, and the customer is knowing if the valve is open, if it's closed, or if it's somewhere between. Somebody needs to get there and check, and that's something we are looking really forward, because that's something, it's a sensor for a clear application, and everybody will benefit from it, and that pushes things. Yeah. Agreed,
Dan.
Yeah.
Now, interestingly enough, I had a chat last night with the bartender at my hotel.
Okay.
And she was like, well, what do you, I'm here for the LoRa. What is that? Well, well, isn't there wireless already? Well, no, this is specifically, and she goes, well, what's the advantage of adding all of this wireless? You're still going to have wires in the walls. I said, yes, but they're in the walls. You're eliminating that final mile, that cable that someone trips over or the dog chews through or whatever. In an industrial, that final mile could be through a barrier or in a hostile environment or something. Can you give us some examples of how the LoRa has enabled that final mile connection in an industrial environment? John?
Wired solutions has been around. Like I said, but even at home it's terrible. If you use smart lighting at home now, you're not going to pull new wires. That's already a barrier to entry. Let alone do that in an industrial site that is a running factory that you're not going to put down to dig a hole for. That's just not going to be economical feasible. So what we've seen is, if you look at an industrial site and you plot it in an Excel, you see the high likely assets to fail with high impact to fail, that upper quadrant, that was already connected. LoRaWAN is that for those. That has been connected since the beginning of the factory. It was built in. They put the wires in the ground before they built the factory, and that's fully digital. And also, I'm not going to touch that. That's not what you should load LoRaWAN for. It needs uppermost reliable. The PNF has been those type of applications forever. But then there's quadrants next to those, which has a high likely to fail, but low impact. So even if it fails, this factory can still run. Or you have a really low probability to fail, but still a high impact. But it fails only once every 40 years. So yeah, are you going to make a business case to put a wire in the ground that costs 100,000 euros just to put a wire in and then a sensor in there? No, you're not going to do it, so you just send somebody every 2 months to check the health. And I think for those quadrants, suddenly LoRaWAN makes sense, because the total cost of ownership, important topic this week, it makes sense for LoRa with the battery power. So we're talking battery-powered wireless devices, so true wireless, not only wireless communication, but also wireless in power. Like our devices, worst case, they work 8-9 years without touching them. So you plug it, you can do it in a live environment, you go in, you install it within 10 minutes, 15 minutes max. It's mounted to an asset that's already there in live environments. You don't have to open an asset, you don't need to open a junction box, there's no power that needs to go on and off. Just mount it, put it on top of it, basically stick it on. The industrial variant of sticking it on. And from that point forward, you have the connection. And then the beauty of LoRa, of course, is that it just works. I mean, the wireless technology, LoRa, the long range, there's so many smart things that sits in the protocol, and the whole modulation technology just makes sure that even in the worst environments, because this heavy industry are not normally RF friendly. I mean, they tried 2.4 gigahertz with Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, it just doesn't work. You need access points everywhere. Now you need 3 or 4 gateways and you're double redundant in your coverage. You can go up to 10,000 devices. It's just, don't do radio planning, don't do radio mapping, or maybe a little bit, but you don't need to mesh protocol or hopping or whatever. Just install, plug and play, works. Well, I think that's where LoRa enables to have those quadrants at a really low cost of ownership and be done with it. Yeah.
Well, I think, John, in that case, it's the right tech at the right time, because it was the old television band, and who knew it would be perfect for the Internet of Things, because it propagates well, it penetrates walls, it has very good atmospheric, bounce, and it can travel long distances, and it's actually, weirdly enough, the perfect band for
the timing is not per se great. I mean, if LoRa would have been there 10 years ago, everybody would have still used it 10 years ago. If we would have waited 10 years...
but don't forget, the infrastructure to help support these systems are now completely gelled, and now we're starting to see AI and edge computing and those
But it's only just on top of things. Just even the simple, like, evolved position sensor, it's a really binary thing. You don't need AI to guesstimate the valve. Of course, now with AI, we can start predicting...
the facility.
That's only on top of it. Just the binary signal is already a really big benefit. That's only just the start that already makes sense. And then the rest even comes up on top of it.
So I know you've got something to say to that, Dan.
Yeah, so I think it's important to understand that projects also, or even with big customers, it's always a step-by-step process. You know that best, John. So we think, okay, we get there, we have the perfect idea, the perfect solution, and everybody's saying, hey, we want to order, right? And that's not how it works. So you really need to gain some trust first, and you need to talk with people. You need to have small POCs at several parts. Some of them are failing, of course, that's normal, but 1 or 2 of them are really, you know that, right? It's normal, I think, and but some of them are really scaling up then at some point, and that's where you need to put your focus on, and you need to take care of those projects to develop, and that's of course for us a little bit easier because our brand is well known in the market. Not, of course, in the wireless or in the radio market. So that's something we need to gain some trust first. But if you come to a big company, they know us. Our wire sensors. They are already at the plant. They are on the machinery. You find them there, and then, so as said at the beginning, we are now talking with completely new target groups like IT, IoT. Right? These are new guys we are talking with, and at some point, of course, they get their guys we normally know on board, like from the production line, from maintenance. Those guys, they already know Pepperl+Fuchs, and then it's much easier to do the next step. But it's always POC, and then step by step gaining trust and developing first small projects to bigger projects. And then, of course, what's also important, you know it best, John, you need to take the ideas from the customers and put it into the next sensor version. So that's really important. Listen to your customer, and always
iterate.
improve your product step by step. And that's something we are still working on. And this is why we, of course, are sometimes taking more time, like the smaller companies. There we have so many certification processes and stuff we need to do. And but I think sometimes it's also a little bit of an advantage because so we try to have all the features that customers want to on board. Yeah.
Got it, Dan. Now, I'm hearing about the opportunities, but it's interesting as you talk about it, you're also talking about the challenges in conjunction with it, because I was going to ask you separately about the challenges, but I've been hearing what you were saying about certification and making sure it's industrially certified and gaining the trust of your customers and making sure that it's operationally certified. You know, how would you, if you wanted to put all of the challenges in a bin and say, okay, this is what you have to worry about when you're doing an industrial deployment. I'll let you start, Dan. What would you advise an engineer doing that? What kind of challenges that they should be worried about going into a project like that?
I think most important is to just start at some point. So it's not the perfect solution to talk about the perfect idea, the perfect solution where we use thousands of sensors. Probably that never gonna happen. So you need to start something, and then you have 3 engineers from your customer on board, and then they at some point they take their bosses to the project, and then they inform their bosses, and things are starting. It takes much more time than you assume. Yeah, it's nothing that you get there and they start directly with big projects. It's always a step-by-step process. But I think, as said before, it's quite important to listen to your customers, and also try to have the right. So that's what we trying always, to have a great partner network around us. So we don't produce gateways, for example, right? We don't offer any LoRaWAN network server. We just concentrating on what we are best in, and that's producing the sensors. And so, of course, the customer needs some help with gateways or with LoRa network servers, something like that, if they don't have that already. And so it's quite important to support them with your network in the back. That's really something that they are appreciating. If you say, hey, we have this experience or that experience, and so stuff like that. So being a team together with your customer and developing, I think that's best what we can do at this point. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. Now, John.
Yeah, I think. Of course, all true. So this is a boring panel. We both agree on the same things. Yeah. But I think we see that our clients are a little bit further already. So a lot of times they already made the decision to go for LoRa. So the network is there, or it's already planned. And like you said, the beauty of LoRa is that you can pick and choose. You don't have to have one supplier that does everything average. You can find the best components for the sensor manufacturer, the best gateway that fits your need, the best network supplier, so to make basically an all-star network. And there used to be a days, especially in the early days, we need to educate our clients. I was constantly basically preaching LoRa. I don't have to do that anymore. What we need to see now is that by focusing really on our sensors, so we're still always, LoRa is still young, we're still in the early days, but we are all past that proof of concept. It doesn't need to be proved anymore. We see clients that basically building the business case internally already before they even touch the device. So it comes now more as of course it works. It's more of is it working for us? Is this the right product? And I think to help there, we see that continue developing. So our devices now do fully firmware over-the-air activation and updates. So even if a device is rolled out for 8-9 years, you probably want to have some new functions around that time, so change that over the air. Do full configuration changes. We now do time synchronization. So even if you have one asset that has 10 sensors, we can synchronize the time units on all the sensors and measure at their exact time, same time. So suddenly we see that extra addition. So on top of the basic unit that already was a good proposition, it's just getting better and better. And that's all I think the state of the industry now. Of course, there will be a point where you say, no, this is not for LoRa anymore. If you want that value, then that's where it sits. And that's where I think LoRa is now settling, and our sensors are as well. Our biggest challenge from our side is making sure that delivering it worldwide and scaling up. Because we are not that big company, so we are 40 guys and girls serving a global product. So our partnerships are really, really important. But I think on the client side, if there is a time to start, basically, you should be doing now if you're not already doing it. I think people here or people watching are probably already thinking or knowing about it. So yeah, there is no reason not to do it.
I think that's a perfect way to end this. There's no reason not to do it.
Right.
On that note, gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us at this busy show, and I really appreciate the audience taking the time to listen. So you all have a great day now.